the last day. Thank you. I think I'm given 6 topics today. The first one is on diagnosing learners' reading ability. Without further ado, I'd like to share my slide so I can get started. For those who already know me, have a chance to attend or to be my colleague, my classmate in college, I am happy to be with you. I do not see any familiar names. You just let me know if you're there, and I'm happy to be with you today. Allow me to share my screen so I can get started. If I got it right, this topic is up to 1 to 2:30. Open forum up to 3 o'clock, and then I stay with you 3 to 4:30 for balanced reading program, after which we shall be having the open forum. You have to be with me. I'm attempting to be at a very fast pace so that I can maximize my time with you. And if you have access, you may just raise your hand for some clarification. Whoever is the admin, please be with me in facilitating, recognizing people who raise their hands or the chat box. You just let me know. I may be too engrossed to get it over with and go on with my agenda today. So please help me out in facilitating your queries, questions, comments, or clarification. Okay. I'll be sharing my slide. I already gave a copy of this one. I also have a sample LP later on for our workshop for the next session. Okay, is my slide okay with you? Are you already seeing my slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, slideshow. Let's see. There we are, okay? The first topic assigned to me is diagnosing learners' reading ability. And I would like to share with you how I plan to go through my session today. There are only 3 things that we shall be doing. There is an assessment. Aside from the overall assessment, this is a topical assessment. Second is my input, the outline of which, or the contents, highlights, I will share with you. And then we'll have some cases for practice on diagnosis in reading. For my input, the highlights would only be 5 things. We will review the definition of key terms. One is reading, so that we are on the same ground, so to speak, because depending on how you view reading would be your practice and your beliefs in diagnosis. And therefore, I hope we are on equal leveling field when it concerns reading. Then, simply from literacy dictionary, the meaning of reading ability and diagnosis. I'll proceed to the processes involved in reading process. And then I'll proceed to the crux of the matter, the basic model of reading diagnosis and the principles of diagnosis. I'll be sharing with you 5. I hope I'm not mistaken there. And the case study. Okay. Okay. My objective is to familiarize us with a model for reading diagnosis. When I say model, how do you begin? It's like the song, no, where do I begin? When you do your diagnosis, where do you start? And quo vadis, where do you go from there? Conduct reading diagnosis with hypothetical target learners, and let's interpret the results of reading diagnosis. Okay, for 20 minutes, please be with me. I'll be timing you. If you finish early, well and good. If not, I cannot extend. I'm giving you one case here. This is the data, the result of reading assessment conducted by a grade 5 teacher with Zezi. Zezi is a 12-year-old female grade 5 student. Okay, the assessment result shows for grade 5 word list, there are 10 miscues, mispronunciation, omission, repetition out of 50 words. So the teacher gave grade 4 word list. There are only 2 miscues out of 50 words. Then the teacher proceeded to oral reading passage for grade 5. Ceci recorded 60 WPM or word per minute. Others would use the unit CWPM, correct word per minute. But for Ceci, it's 60 WPM. And the teacher noted here that Ceci was not reading accurately, smoothly, expressively. The teacher tried the passage for grade 4. In this case, it's 100 WPM. Still, the teacher noted mispronunciation, omissions, and repetitions. Okay, the teacher proceeded to giving grade 5 comprehension test. Ceci got 4 out of 10 correct answers. For grade 4 comprehension passage, 7 out of 10. The teacher made Ceci retell a grade 5 narrative text. In the retelling, Ceci scored 5 out of 10. But for grade 4 text with the same narrative genre, Ceci got 7 out of 10. Grade 5 closed test, she scored 7 out of 25 items. And for grade 4 closed test, the score is 12 out of 25. So the teacher had already done a lot. So these are assessment results. Okay, what are we going to do with this? I have here the data given and I sorted it according to grade level. What you need to do is determine the reading level based on the result of each assessment data. There are 4 columns here. First column is for data. I listed here the instrument and the score, the total number of items per instrument. Write the interpretation. You just need to write in the blank whether this is frustration, instruction, or independent level. Then you proceed to grade 5. Write the interpretation as well. You don't need to worry if you don't know about this, if you haven't memorized. Just use your hunch and you may guess. You can just write instructional, independent, or frustration as the level based on the result of the instrument administered to Ceci. May I give you? Yes. Am I clear?
Oo.
Okay. I suppose I'm clear. We can now get started. Okay. How are you going to do this? On any sheet of paper you can write or use the chat box. Please use only one chat to write your answers here. Write grade 4 result and then grade 5 result. Okay?
Research, malaki din talaga. Mga research natin sa field, no?
5 minutes starts now.
Research management.
I hope it's clear what you are supposed to do.
Yes, ma'am. The instruction is clear. So may we ask for other participants if you have questions for regarding the activity, please don't hesitate for to ask ma'am here. Thank you.
Yes, please. If you have any question, feel free to ask. But you are being timed. While you're thinking about it, allow me to talk here. Ceci's teacher gave assessment tests using the instruments as mentioned here. We don't know what purpose, perhaps you can guess, but the point is you got the score. From the score, determine what's the level of Ceci for grade 4 and then for grade 5. Yeah, now I'm reading from your chat here. You're doing it one at a time. I hope you can identify. What instrument is this result you are giving me? Okay, let's see. When you hear the alarm ringing, that means I have to stop and begin reading aloud, sharing aloud to the class, to this group. I can see Ma'am Chita Ong's answer, 1. And then individual instruments first. Yes, yes. They are all pouring in now. Okay. Okay. You have a number and then independent. This is from Cheetah, Ma'am Cheetah. Grade 4 instructional, grade 4 independent, grade 4 instructional, grade 4 independent. From Ma'am Carmencita, Rex, Darlin, grade 4 instructional level, grade 5 frustration level. Is this the overall result or is it based on individual instrument use? Grade 5 frustration from Ma'am Sheila Marie. Grade 4 instructional, grade 5 frustration. This is from Ma'am Donna from Calapan City. Grade 4 independent, grade 5 first from Razel and Fitalco. Yes, and you still have 1 minute. I don't know if your answers are already a grade level summary of level or is it individual instrument result? Grade 4 from William Malabana, grade 4 instructional, grade 5 frustration. Perhaps this is overall. Grade 5 frustration from Romblon, English teacher. Grade 4 instructional. Grade 4, most of you agree. Ceci,
Wait
is
lang
it
po. Lang talaga. Parang ipasok ko lang dito si Kiko.
for grade 4? Grade 5 frustration, but Ceci is now in grade 5. Grade 4 instructional, grade 5 frustration. I think this is overall result of instrument. Okay, that's overall diagnosis. And here goes the timer. Okay, this time, thank you for your answer. I can see Ma'am Eva. Yes, enumerating the answers here. Ma'am Eva, will you share your answer? Grade level instruments, one after the other, please. Ma'am Eva, are you there?
Hello, ma'am. Hello
Hi.
po, good afternoon.
Afternoon,
Okay,
teacher. Go
so let
ahead.
me share my answers to the reading level of Zezi in grade 4. For the
Yes.
first one, I think she is Zezi a boy or a girl, ma'am?
She
Zezi
is
is the
female.
girl. So
Yes.
she is independent for the first one, and then instructional for the second one. This is the oral reading passage. Then for the comprehension, sorry, for number 2 oral reading passage is frustration. For number 3 comprehension is instructional. 4 is instruction, and the last one for the closed test is frustration. So for grade 5, when Zezi was in grade 5, for the first one, I think she is in instructional level. Then number 2, instructional. Number 3, frustration. 4, frustration. And 5, frustration. Thank you po.
Okay. That's individual result. Could you more or less guess the overall diagnosis of the level of Ceci for grade 4 and for grade 5?
Okay, for grade 4, I think she's more on instructional, and for grade 5, frustration.
Okay, we'll not ask for the computation. Hopefully I can reach that part when we compute this. If not, that will be part of the talk on reading assessment. Do you have any question? Thank you for sharing, Teacher Eva.
Come po.
Anyone else? Do you have any question? May I be the one to ask now if you don't have any? We are given here only the instrument, the result, and the total item for each. Do we know the purpose of each? Can anyone tell us? What's the purpose of administering this individual test or assessment instrument? Word list? Why are you using word list? What's the purpose? Yeah, I can hear you. Although quietly you are whispering. Word list, meaning this is giving a chance, sorry, to read words in isolation. Read words in isolation. So, what's a word list for? If it's in isolation, perhaps this is just word recognition. That's the purpose. Because when you give the instrument, definitely there's a purpose for it. And the purpose tells us what possible area of strength or weakness our student or Ceci might be in or might be having. So word list is for reading words in isolation, perhaps just word recognition, rate in isolation. Okay, what about oral reading passage? Why are we giving oral reading passage? This is reading aloud. Normally, what aspect of reading is this? Fluency. This is for fluency and for speed, as you can see, or rate. To be more exact, WPM is just a rate. Oral reading passage to measure fluency, rate. Comprehension score is definitely for comprehension. What about retelling? For comprehension as well. Maybe memory, part of retention, and then close test. Two ways. One is for comprehension, apprehension, and second is for linguistic knowledge of the child in the target language you're using. Those are the purposes. Why? So there are a lot of instruments, different purposes, and let us see how we can get the overall level of Ceci. Grade 5, but reading instructional in grade 4, frustration in grade 5, what could be her independent level? Perhaps Ceci's independent level is 1 grade below the instruction level, which is grade 3. She's instructional in grade 4, frustration in grade 5, perhaps independent in grade 3. But take note, she is already in grade 5. She is performing below the grade level. She is also age 12 already. So there are already expectations from Ceci about her reading performance. If you don't have any question here, hang on to your answers. We'll go back to this later on and find out if our answers are correct using some standards for determining it. Okay, next. Ayaw niya na. Wala. Okay, the next is we're supposed to organize the data and write a brief narrative report of Ceci's possible strengths and areas needing improvement in reading. You may end your narrative with a summary of strengths and weaknesses in reading, 4 sentences only. I'll show again. This one, can you summarize grade 4 data? Word list, word in isolation, word recognition. Okay, I will just help you out how we can do the narrative here. The purpose of word list is for identifying, decoding, word in isolation, word recognition skill. She has only 2 miscues. 2 is what percent of 50? Then we say this is independent, very good in reading word in isolation. For oral reading passage, this is for rate, 100 WPM for a grade 5 student is very low. Why? Do we know the standard? I know that you have this in your IRI, but if you would just bear this in mind, for first grade, nearing the end of the school year, you expect the child to read, give or take, 55 to 60 words per minute. 55 to 60 WPM is the range for grade 5. That means for a beginning reader at the end of first grade, a child should be reading 55 to 60 WPM. 1 word per second. That's how you translate it. If the child needs 3 seconds to recognize a word, that means the child might be having a problem. That's how you know that the child is automatic already when given a second can recognize and read out the word. So 100 WPM for grade 5 child is low for CESI. May I say that again? For grade 1 at the end of school year, 55 to 60 is the average to be the instructional level. Higher than that is independent. Lower than that is frustration. Your base, your standard is the 1 word per second reading of the child. Now, if the child can read faster, well and good. This is only rate. You're not asking the meaning that the child attaches to a word. So reading word in isolation, 100. By the way, how do you know the standard? You add 30 words for every grade level. So if you start at 60, for grade 2, it should be 90, the instructional. Are you with me? I hope I'm clear.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Add another 30 for third grade, it should be 120 words, third grade. Pag 150 words, pang grade 4 na yon. Grade 5 na siya, dapat 180 words per minute man lang ang nabasa niya, no? Pero 100 lang, this is way below. Well, that already indicates that she might be having a problem even with grade 4 text in phonics, decoding, word recognition. Not yet on the meaning here. Comprehension, 7 out of 10. How do we know this is instruction level? 8 to 10 is independent. Yes, 8 to 10 is independent. The next 3, that's 5, 6, 7, that's instruction. Below that is frustration. Therefore, we can say that perhaps, no, we haven't computed yet. We can say that CESI might be good for grade 4 in comprehending, but not in relation to her language, linguistic knowledge, and ability to use cues from the text for meaning as indicated by the closed test score. We can say that she has a problem, or she might be struggling, or there might be a difficulty in word recognition and decoding as indicated by mispronunciation and so on. I think if this is the case for grade 4, worse would be the data for grade 5. Am I right to surmise? To surmise it that way? I suppose so. And therefore, if you're the teacher of CESI, you should know what to do and how to help her while she's in grade 5. There are other things, more things you need to do to help her cope. Go back a bit lower or 2 grade levels lower to boost the encourage motivation, self-esteem. Okay? Okay. Next is, let's recommend additional assessment measures for a thorough, holistic, and balanced information about SESI. As you can see, the instruments used by the teacher are hardcore reading elements, reading-based assessment. But there are peripheral information we need to know about SESI. If we want to be thorough, holistic, and balanced in our diagnosis, they are very cognitive, the instruments that we use. Perhaps we can balance it with some affective measures, hobbies, interests, preferences, no, of SESI. Although yours is only on reading ability, you may want to consider other areas to diagnose and find if they are correlates of reading level of SESI. Now, depending on your on the guide. Okay, depending on the standard that you're using, I'm showing with you the different instruments and how they are determined. They are used to determine the level. Okay, I know you are familiar with IRI and I will not dwell on that. What I'm showing you is one from Gunning 2003. I did not get it from Phil IRI. This is from Gunning 2003. And this is the basis that he used to identify the level. If you're using IRI, according to Gunning, independent level is 80 to 100. Instruction is 59 to 79. Frustration is below 58. Another instrument you can use is the closed test. According to Manzo and Manso in 2003, if you get 57 to 100 in a closed test, that's independent level. 44 to 56% is instruction level. And below 43, frustration level for closed test. Sorry. For Clark, I'm sorry. Retelling. Ayan. If it's retelling, 51 to 100 is independent, 33 to 50 is instruction, below 32 is frustration. You might be wondering why there are different ways, different standards, different ranges of scores, because you have different tools. Now you're getting my point. IRI is one tool, but not the only tool to be the basis of determining the child's level. Because later on, when I share principle of diagnosis, it says it should be holistic, thorough, and balanced. If IRI alone is the source of your data to determine reading level, that is not doing justice to the child. Okay? But take note of the three instruments. Look here, of the three instruments, which one has the highest score needed to become independent reader? In which test has the highest range of score to determine independent level? That's IRI, right? IRI has the highest from 80. You compare the independent level, if it's a closed test, it's 57. If you got 57, you will already be in the independent level. But take note, if you have retelling, that's 51% of the three. Retelling is the lowest score demanded to become independent reader. The highest would be IRI. What does it mean? How do you get the implication of these score results and interpretation from different assessment tools? Alam natin ang closed test, ano? It's just like filling in the blank where there are deletions from the nth, meaning you delete every fifth or up to every ninth word, depending on the grade level. And you make the child answer. If it's strict closed test, no synonym. would be considered as correct answer. Retelling, sorry, is letting the child read the text, after which you ask the child to tell everything that he or she has learned. Of the three, perhaps the most difficult test to administer or to do for the child is retelling. Kaya ang baba niya. Pinakamadali ang IRI sa kanila, pinakamahirap ang retelling. Medyo okay lang siguro sa closed test. Ang gusto kong sabihin, we must rely on using several tools to diagnose / to assess reading level. Next. Here is an explanation why we have different ranges of scores in determining the functional reading level. This graph shows the ORA, or oral reading accuracy in percent. That's the vertical. Do you call that the X or the Y? I do not know my math. And comprehension is from left to right, beginning from 0 to 50 to 75 to 90 and 100. Look at this range of scores. This could be your guide in interpreting scores. But mostly for IRI, this would be helpful. If the child, when we say oral reading accuracy, this is oral reading, whether words in isolation or words in context. If the child reads, if the child gets 90% below, the child is from frustration level for ORA. And if the score in comprehension is 50 below, that's frustration. I'll take note. Next is the borderline region, the distance between instruction and frustration, or the gap. Meaning this borderline region gives the child elbow room, not strictly belonging to either frustration or instruction, meaning still finding his footing or her footing with the score 91 to 94 in ORA, 51 to 74 in comprehension. Okay, this graph tells you how we determine the level, and there's a borderline region, which perhaps you can say low frustration or high frustration, low instruction or high instruction, for that matter. Next, for diagnosis, I would like to emphasize that even IRI versions have variations in score interpretations. Okay, take note that even our field IRI varies with these authors in determining the reading level. In short, depending on what your standard is, would be the score range and the interpretation of such to determine the level of the child. For example, I have here 4 authors talking about reading levels using IRI. But look at the scores that they require to categorize the child into one level. Miller says word recognition should be 99% and comprehension 95%. I think if you compare all the authors, Miller, Gunning, Leslie, Caldwell, and Walker, they are all foreigner. They almost all agree here that for word recognition, only 1%, no, is the difference. Here for Leslie, 98. So pag pinabasa nyo siya orally at walang tanong-tanong, basta tama, accurate, kaya nga oral reading accuracy. Hindi kakaiba yung binabasa niya sa nakasulat. Kung ano yung nakasulat, yun ang binabasa, accurate siya. Halos pare-pareho sila dito, no? Take note, 99, 98. They are close. But look at the comprehension score to determine independent level. Here you can see that most of them frequently occurring is 90%. Miller has 95. A bit close there. But look at instruction level. 90, 95, 90, 98. Now, very varied here. Almost close here for 75, 75, 70, 89. Frustration, almost the same on comprehension. 50 is the standard for all the authors. Very close also in frustration, word recognition, and comprehension. But if you read aloud to the child and the child gets 75%, that's the listening capacity of the child for comprehension. What's the point, ma'am? Dr. Gutierrez, why are you giving us these different scores? Are you confusing me? No. What I'm telling you is that your standards may not really be standards because they vary. Okay, secondly, because they vary, now the implication is depending on what you have used would be the level of the child. Therefore, do not use only one instrument to determine reading level. This is the second time I mentioned variation in the use, diversity in administration of assessment instruments for justice, fairness to the students being assessed. Okay, what are the key terms I have here in this session? I have only 3. Let's review what reading is, and when I discuss the instruments, the interpretation, this is the point of view. This is the lens, the paradigm that we're using for it. Reading is a process of constructing meaning with text. Print and meaning processing occur simultaneously in constructing meaning. That's important. Meaning print together with meaning, not print first before meaning, not sound, letter, symbol, so on before meaning. The idea here is when you construct meaning simultaneously, you use print and meaning processing. As such, that being the case, reading is a unitary skill. It requires an ability to integrate cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains of learning. Although when we look at reading ability, take note the word cognitive processes. Reading ability is the cognitive processes employed in comprehending and using written text according to literacy dictionary. Or where is integration here now? When earlier we said reading is a unitary skill, skill requiring an ability to integrate cognitive, affective, psychomotor domain. How come in reading ability, this is more towards cognitive processes? That's why I've been telling you, you need other tools that measure beyond cognition, mental cognitive processes, okay, to have a holistic view of the child. And then the third, reading diagnosis, nothing is new here except that whatever result, what you do or the process that you undergo in identifying the nature of reading disorder or disability through observation of examination is already called diagnosis. To be strict about it, this may just be the limitation of diagnosis, the identification of the nature of reading difficulty, disorder, or disability. But in education, and this is according to Literacy Dictionary by Harris and Hodges, they said in education, diagnosis encompasses even the instruction appropriate to be given to the child based on the result of tests or instruments administered to the child. So whenever you want to identify the nature of the child's reading disorder, difficulty, or disability, you are diagnosing. Okay, those are the 3 key terms. Now, may I remind you of the several processes in reading process? Hold a moment, Teacher Gutierrez. You might be saying, Ma'am, didn't you say reading is a unitary skill? Yes, but I'm not saying there is only one process. It's a singular unitary process, but there are sub-processes that make up the complexity of this unitary process, the integration of these processes to be able to perform the reading process. What are these processes? And this may be one weakness of the child. When you diagnose later on, you may attribute the weakness because of the sensory process, attributory to this process. What is in sensory process? By the way, I hope we agree what we mean by sensory. All that involve our senses. Especially in reading, the senses most acutely used are visual, eyes, seeing, hearing, auditory. Yes, a bit of kinesthetic and tactile. So when we say sensory process, this includes letter recognition and word recognition requiring visual processes, eye movement skills, visual auditory perception, left to right progression, kinesthetic perception. In short, if you believe in multisensory process, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, tactile, all these are needed as a sensory process to be able to read, whether learning to read or reading to learn. Next, aside from senses, the use of senses, there is also perceptual cognitive process. It includes the association of sound with a symbol, requiring skills of hearing and auditory perception for the second time. Hearing and seeing are mentioned. Perceptual cognitive. What your senses can feel, your mind can perceive. Perceive meaning can associate and later on help assign meaning. Okay? Now, some may use the senses, may know the letters, may recognize, but lacking association of meaning to those perceived by the senses. So the missing element is the perceptual cognitive process. Next, which I think is an area where we can have a lot of assistance offered to children, is the process of language communicative. It includes having the facility in language, whether L1 or whatever target language it is. In our case, our target language is English. We are teachers of English and we want them to learn English, and therefore we need to equip them with language communicative process to be able to read. This means having the facility in language, requiring listening and speaking proficiency, understanding of sounds, the structure, word meaning, features of any language code. Meaning you use language to communicate. And language has phonology, syntax, semantics, pragmatics. Finally, the fourth of the process, memory. Siguro naman narinig yun ng mga guro, no? Naku, ang galing magmemorya. Kailangan kasi ang memory. In reading and in learning, in even psychologically speaking, memory plays an important role. You just wonder why your children cannot seem to recall, remember, retrieve something related to decoding, visual stimuli, auditory stimuli given to them. Memory includes registration of visual features of the word in the sensory store, and in long-term memory requiring selective attention, rehearsal, chunking, organization, semantic coding, and retrieval. In short, aside from believing that reading is a motivated process of constructing meaning, these processes, four processes, the memory, the sensory, senses, the perceptual cognitive process, the language communicative process, all interplay to build our capability in reading a target language or learning about it. Okay? In short, when we say reading as a unitary skill, that it is simultaneously cognitively processing the print and the meaning at the same time. In fact, Samuel LeBurge was the one who coined the term automaticity with a quote. You are automatic with print or in reading when simultaneously your print processing and meaning proving work hand in hand. Okay? And they are the same factors that inhibit the construction of meaning. Meaning, print processing could be a factor in our inability to read. Yes, what do we mean by print processing? All that concerns letters, sounds, spelling, decoding, that's print processing. And for assessment, diagnosing print processing, normally it's done through oral reading analysis. And again, on a regular note, this is for beginning readers. You do a lot of oral reading diagnosis to determine print processing. But I'm not saying you forget the meaning proving, because this is another process that should work hand in hand, simultaneously, coordinatedly with print. Okay? Print processing is a demand which could also be a factor inhibiting our ability to read. Along with print is meaning proving, simultaneous, okay? What do we mean by it? Well, our mind is so complex that it can do several things at the same time. It doesn't mean you read the print and focus all attention there. After that, you give meaning. No, it's simultaneous. Okay, next, how we measure it through oral reading and what are some activities or tasks. They may have oral reading with retelling or individual words or reading words in context. For meaning proving, this is normally done for comprehension adult because we assume that they are very automatic with print, more or less. This is also automatic, and yet they can be analyzed through silent reading like think aloud. Okay. So what am I contributing to diagnosis here? There are two things that you need to look out for when you diagnose. Print processing alongside meaning proving. Meaning proving and perhaps looking at print processing when the child struggles with meaning. Okay. Now I would like us to be familiar with a model in diagnosis. When I say model, pag tinanong kayo, paano ba kayo nag-a-assess? Hindi ang sagot, feel eerie. Instrument kasi yon. Ano ba ang balangkas, ang pinaghuhugutan ng feel eerie? Yun ang tinatanong sa inyo. What's the rationale behind IRI? So here, we're offering a model, and this is not mine. This is giving credit where it's due. This is by Barr, Blackowicz et al. In 2002, and even earlier, they already espoused the idea called basic model of reading diagnosis. Take note of the term basic, meaning foundation to reading. Hence, you can see this is hardcore cognitive reading skills. We are measuring reading ability, cognitive process in making sense of the text, understanding it. Therefore, this basic model concentrates on three contributory areas to comprehension. Okay? How do we understand this? In the following slide, you will see how print skill, vocab, compress strategy are defined. When you read this diagram, this flow chart, you look at the center because definitely the proponents believe that reading comprehension is the heart of diagnosis. Okay? And comprehension happens because of enablers, such as there are strategies that help readers comprehend. Part of the strategies they use are print skill and vocab knowledge. That's from the center going down before you move up. Okay? But if you want to start, especially start reading it down, moving upward, you can say the print skill and vocabulary knowledge can be comprehension strategies that help readers comprehend the reading task demands of their grade level. If the child is grade 5, there are reading task demands that he or she should perform. And to perform, should be able to comprehend. And this comprehension happens because the child knows strategies just like using their print skill and vocab knowledge to be able to comprehend. Hence, when you diagnose, there are 3 areas that you watch out for: print skill, vocab knowledge, compress strategy, and, well, this is a cause or an effect, but definitely comprehension can be a symptom of a problem, not necessarily a problem. Could be not comprehending, can be because of lacking strategy, could be because no print skill, inadequate, or could it be wrong knowledge of words? Let's look at this. I do not see if you have any questions, people, or whether I am still talking to computer or to people, although remotely. What do we mean by print skill? Okay, it refers to the ability of readers to translate printed symbols efficiently into spoken language or meaning. Okay, this is what we call as automaticity with the code. They do not struggle anymore. When they see the print, they convert it into spoken language or meaning. That's why we call it automaticity or print skill. Okay. This area includes not only skill with phonics, structural analysis, and syllabication, which permit a student to identify previous unknown words, but also the acquisition of a set of words that are recognized instantaneously, instant words. Okay, a bit closer to Dolch basic sight words, but still different from it. It includes the proficient integration of word recognition and word identification with contextual information as a student responds to prose to develop fluency. So when you look at print skill, you're not looking at fluency, although that might lead to it. Here, you're talking about all the skills that you use for the child to learn to read, along with word recognition and word identification, okay, with context from the passage. That's print skill, something that relates to visual texts. I mean, when I say visual, to something that uses letters as visual forms to represent the phonemes. Next, vocabulary knowledge refers to knowledge of the keywords contained in a particular reading selection, as well as the encompassing concepts being conveyed and the ways word meaning is revealed by context. In short, what associated words children have when they encounter a word in a text. That's vocab knowledge. That when they hear a word, ano yun, nagkakaroon ng webbing, nadadagdag, nako-connect nila kung saan pa ito may kaugnayan. Vocabulary knowledge, not a one-to-one correspondence, but actually a web of interconnected words or concepts. Okay? Next, comprehension strategies, to be strict about it. They are the deliberate choices used by readers in the process of making sense of a text. Your skill can be a strategy if you decide to deliberately use it while you read. A skill is only a skill if its usage does not cover conditional knowledge when you use the skill, okay? It becomes a strategy when there is a need and you think of a way to address your need, you deliberately choose a certain path, that's your strategy. So according to our model of reading diagnosis, basic model, print skill and vocab knowledge serve as strategies for comprehension. Therefore, these 3 are important to determine the heart of reading, which is comprehension. You know, this model suggests, 1, if you want to know if the child has a problem in reading, begin with comprehension. Do not begin with the other elements. Okay? I'm getting way ahead of myself because I'm talking about major diagnostic decision that you need to do. Okay, I'm done with comprehension strategies. Here, okay, based on the model, there are several decisions that we make we do when we diagnose? One, you need to determine whether your students comprehend the textual materials that are part of instruction. Mahirap ba yon? Grade 5 CSC. Gusto ko malaman, ma-diagnose, ano ba yun? Tayahin kung ano ang kakayahan niya. Huwag akong magsimula sa letter sound correspondence, sa print skill. Bakit? The heart of reading of diagnosis is comprehension. You try to see whether the child can comprehend the material for grade level. If not, now you can conclude that they are experiencing problems in reading. Okay? Pag may problem siya, you go to step 2. Okay? You need to determine whether there is a problem. Next, if there's a problem, you must know the general nature of the problem. Okay? It's 2:23. Okay pa ako, ma'am? Okay. Sige. Identify the general nature of the problem. A student can have difficulties in 3 general areas, just like what the model suggests. 1, their print skill is inadequately developed. Kaya siya hindi makakomprehend. Kaya wag niyong sabihin, ma'am, ang problema niya comprehension. Hindi. Sintomas niya yun. Baka. Kaya nga, ang simula niyo, comprehension. Para malaman niyo kung problema ba siya o sintomas siya ng problem. It could also be that the real problem of the child is inadequate vocabulary knowledge pertaining to the ideas prescribed or described in a passage, or inadequately developed strategies for understanding a text. Okay? So there are 4 areas, but comprehension as a broad category may be a symptom of other problems in print skill 1, vocab knowledge 2, or strategy use 3. If you have determined the nature of the problem, conduct further diagnosis on these general areas. These general areas are the 4. Then, as I have mentioned earlier, consider assessment of other factors beyond the areas included in the basic diagnosis. Huwag lang naman panay print skill, vocab knowledge, strategy, and comprehension, because other factors contribute to reading performance. I already mentioned reading attitude, preference, hobbies, influence. Okay? If you use our basic model of reading diagnosis, it's easy to identify the pattern of strengths and weaknesses of the child. Shown here are 8 patterns. Others are irregular patterns, uncommon pattern. 1, 2, 3 are common patterns of diagnosis using the model. 4 to 8 are uncommon patterns. Patterns pa rin siya, uncommon lang. Okay. Let's start. Are you looking at this table on the diagnostic patterns of print skill, vocab, reading, compressed strats? The first column has something to do with the reading skill area. Okay, compre, print, or vocab. The decision, whether further diagnostic exploration is needed. Case 1, pattern 1. What can you see in pattern 1? Case 1, for example, this is the child and this is the result of your assessment. For reading comprehension, the child is plus, meaning good, perhaps independent here. The print skill is also good. Vocabulary is also good. What do you need to do? You can discontinue your diagnosis. The child does not show any problem at all. Can survive with your guidance. The I+1 scaffolding, as mentioned in social learning theory, cognitive learning theory, will work for this learner. The next pattern, reading is 0 or poor, but the print skill is okay. Decoding, perhaps. Word identification, word recognition, pronunciation is okay, print skill. Vocabulary knowledge is also okay. The only problem of the child is perhaps comprehension being a symptom. It is recommended that you explore comprehension strategies of the child. Continue diagnosis, but focus on compre strats. What do we mean? Ginagamit ba niya ang vocab niya, ang print skill niya as strategy to comprehend, o hindi niya alam? Very isolated yung skill niya yun. Pattern 3 in our diagnosis, comprehension is poor, print skill is okay, vocab is poor. This child is decoder, but take note simultaneously, print processing and meaning proving are needed. Therefore, the child needs help or need further diagnosis and vocab knowledge. Kung gusto nyo compre, pwede. Ulitin natin kasi nga sintomas or problema ang compre. Pattern 4. Okay, medyo papunta na tayo sa mga uncommon. Uncommon ito, why? The child can comprehend, the child cannot comprehend, the child does not have any print skill, but very good in vocab knowledge. What happened? Perhaps the child's oracy is so well developed. The child in the listening capacity knows word meanings, but not when reading on her own and understanding what is read. You try to explore print skill. Okay, next. Uncommon, wala siya lahat. Pag wala lahat, no comprehension, no print skill, no vocab, no instruction took place. Wala ka nang dapat i-diagnose. Baka ito yung mga beginning readers pa talaga, hindi pa nila kailangan ng ganito katinding diagnosis. Mas kailangan nila na systematic, explicit, recreatory, no? Reading instruction. Passage, pattern 6. Good in compre, poor in print, but good in vocab. Ang tawag natin dito ulit, baka ang batang ito sa oral language siya magaling, pero hindi sa written language because print skill is poor. But this is uncommon. You know why? Because you can use print as a strategy to comprehend, to help your vocab. How come this happens to that child? 7 to 8 also a bit or very, very uncommon. Good in comprehension, good in print skill, poor in vocab, seldom would it happen. In fact, Tierney said 75% of our comprehension is attributed to our vocabulary knowledge. And then, very good in comprehension, this could just be on oral text, read to him or her. No, again, impossible if vocab is not well developed. Print skill is understandable. Okay, now that is how we interpret this result of the model that we use. Let's now go to some cases. Okay, I'm presenting you case 1. Let's name this case 1, John. What are you going to do? You need to tell me, using the model, comprehension, aided by strategy, print skill, and vocab. After reading this case, tell me the strengths and areas needing improvement by this case, by John. John is 9 years and 2 months old, and is in the 4th grade. His teacher, Tessa, has found that he has considerable difficulty understanding not only his social studies and science textbooks, but also the stories in the 3rd grade level reading book used by the slowest paced group. His oral reading, however, is flawless. And he even reads social studies and science passages with considerable fluency. That's scientist that he has extremely vague concepts pertaining to biological terms and then pursued his understanding of more common terms. She found out that he knows only superficially or not at all words from his reading books such as Revenge, Comrade, Foundation, and Craftsman. What is your initial impression of John? Use the model. Strength and weakness, print, skill, vocab, knowledge, strategy, comprehension. Anyone who would like to share? John, 9 and 2 months old, 4th grade. Considerable difficulty understanding stories, science, social science, social studies both. Slow in reading, but good in oral reading. Okay, can pronounce but cannot determine meaning. Okay, what's the problem? What's your initial observation or impression of case 1, John? Do I have any volunteer? Are you raising your hand? Anyone raising hand? This is not yet your diagnosis, no? This is your initial observation. Impression. Ma'am Carla, are you raising your hand? Ma'am Rose Fortes. Can you hear me? Ang sarap ni Ma'am Rose Fortes. Meron ba? Ayun. From Calapan City English, Laurel. Si Ma'am Laurel. Go ahead, teacher. You're raising your hand. You are acknowledged.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Yes, Teacher Lorraine. Sorry. Teacher Lorraine, go ahead.
Thank you po. Based on the case, the result, I could say that he's 0 in reading comprehension.
Okay.
Probably same with print skill. Print, no, he is a plus.
In print
He can
skill
read
plus.
words.
Correct.
However, for vocabulary, it's also a 0. So for further exploration of his reading level. Thank you.
Yes, yes. You are correct. Apparently, a symptom of poor comprehension. The problem could be the vocabulary knowledge relative to the text and the strategies used for comprehending. But you are correct, this student, John, is good in print skill. Okay, good try. Thank you, Teacher Lorraine. Next, ganun lang yon. 0 or plus in what element or broad categories? Case 2, Mary. Carla, Teacher Carla Reyes, you may unmute yourself and you please read the case. Teacher Carla.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Teacher Carl, will you read it for me?
I will just read.
You may try and answering.
Wait, ma'am.
Sige, go ahead.
When she is allowed during reading instruction, she does so fluently, making few errors. However, many of her answers to post-reading questions show that does not understand major events within the story. Her answers to questions about important terms within the story reveal that she has a good command of English and is more knowledgeable than other students in the group. 7 years old, na second grade. She is currently in the middle reading group. Second grade learning materials. She's currently making few errors. However, many of the answers to post-reading questions show events within the story.
Teacher Carla, I'm sorry if I caught you
So-
red-handed here. It's okay. May I call you back later? I'll give you time to prepare. Sorry. I just want to speak with you. So if you're not ready, that's fine. Yes, Ali Pinzon and then Charisma. Yes, Ali first. Teacher Ali and then Teacher Charisma.
Comprehension.
Hello po. Good afternoon po, ma'am.
Yes, Sir Ali pala. Go ahead.
Ali from PPC. May diagnose sa ating sa case 2. First, I think she is good in print skill also because she's fluent in reading.
One point.
There are problems when it comes to vocabulary knowledge pertaining to the ideas described because she cannot answer the question properly. At the same time, there is an inadequate development strategies for understanding the text. Yan po yung diagnosed ko po sa kanya.
Okay.
I don't know if that's right.
Yes. Yes, if I got you right, what you said was she is plus, Mary is plus in print skill, but 0 in vocabulary knowledge. Not 0 because good command of English, only perhaps she's not using her vocab knowledge as a strategy for comprehension. That's why she cannot answer, although she is very good in producing the words. Yes, that's a good try, Ali. I agree with you. Yes, Ma'am
Thank you, ma'am.
Sharifna.
Hello po, good
On chat.
afternoon. Hello po.
Yes.
I have the same answer. I've written my diagnosis on a paper and I have the same answers. Can I just say something about the reading comprehension? Of course, po 0 kasi she's not able to understand what she read. And then for the vocabulary knowledge, sometimes we grade 2 are not that good with the recognition of words, especially those unfamiliar words. But in Mary's case, she's able to do that, so it's a plus for her. And for the print skill, she's able to read fluently and maybe faster than her classmates. That's why she will get a plus for that, for the print skill. Thank you.
Yes, yes. That's your initial observation. When you do further analysis, then maybe your diagnosis would be clearer. Next, third case. I only have 5 cases and I will end here. Case 3, Larry. Case 3, we have Larry and we are 195. Joy Ann Lucido from Ormin. Ma'am Joy Ann, I hope you can participate and read and give us your thought about the case.
Harry is 10 years old and infertility is
Ah, your audio is not very clear.
Larry's teacher had almost Larry noted his difficult although Larry had developed familiarity with some common words to assist him and many other words, particularly those that were not memorized syllabic. His anxiety was extremely low. However, he found to handle well when the others in his group were done. He also demonstrated good understanding of Ruth. Comprehension chapter.
Teacher, I'm sorry. We cannot clearly hear what you are saying. It's choppy and static as well. Maybe we can try another volunteer. Sorry po. You just volunteer pagka kaya ng connection nyo, ha? Okay, this is the last part. Practice.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, Sir Ali.
Can I ano na lang?
Yes.
Okay po.
Ma'am Judita Zeta is raising her hand. Sir Ali, try ko muna si Ma'am Judita and then we got back to you. Ma'am Judita.
Hi, ma'am. Good afternoon. Is the case about the third case, I mean, Larry?
Yes, about Larry, yes.
Please bear with me. I'm just reading from my phone, so I have to adjust the size and all. So
Okay.
let me see. Larry is 10 years old and in 4th grade. He is in the slowest pace group in the class, which reads from 3rd grade materials. Larry's teacher had almost immediately noted his difficulty in reading aloud. Although Larry had developed familiarity with some common words, he would wait for the teacher to assist him on many words, particularly those that were multisyllabic. His comprehension of stories that he read silently was extremely low. However, he comprehended well when the others in his group read aloud. He also demonstrated good understanding of keywords in the reading selection. Indeed, he was one of the most knowledgeable class members when it came to science activities and social studies discussions.
Okay. What's our initial observation?
Kala ko basa lang.
Sige. Okay lang naman, Ma'am Jovita Zeta. Thank you. Sir Ali, ikaw na. Ano ang basa mo dito sa kasong ito?
I think, ma'am. Let me try, ma'am, sa comprehension po kasi, I think my problem talaga din sa comprehension. Specifically, yung reading material is not, parang it's not in there. Hindi siya suited sa kanyang grade level kasi he is using grade 3 material wherein he is in 4th grade. So number 1 po yun. So that's why bumaba ng isang level. Ang problema sa vocabulary, I think, inadequate when it comes to vocabulary knowledge kasi 'di ba, as we go on with our grade level ay dapat ano po siya mataas ayon din sa kanyang level yung mga words na kanyang pinag-aaralan. So that's one problem po. Isa pa po ang nakikita ko dito ay yung kanyang inadequate po na develop strategies for understanding text. Kalawa, dahil hindi nga siya suited sa kanyang material. It's kung nakakabasa man siya ng sabay sa iba, it's because siguro pwede ding magaya lang. Judgmental. Hello po.
Oo. Parang ang dami niyang weakness, no? Pero ang kanyang strength ay meron siyang listening capacity level. When others read to him, he can perform well. So, the further diagnosis is needed on areas of vocabulary, print skill, because 3rd grade level, and strategy to help comprehend. There are 2 people raising their hand. Ma'am Juvita, you're raising your hand, and Ma'am Lorraine. Ma'am Razel, or yes, Razel Ann.
Sorry, ma'am, I just forgot to lower it when I
Okay.
raised it earlier.
Sige. Your final chance so I can move on. I'm running out of...
Hello, ma'am. Good
Yes,
afternoon po.
Ma'am Lorraine.
Yes, ma'am. It will be very interesting to further explore the reading needs of Larry, considering when he reads silently, he could not comprehend the article. However, when other members of the group, or probably when the teacher reads to him, he could comprehend. So
Yes.
I think from the first look of it, when he reads, his brain is busy focusing and recognizing the letters and producing the sounds. That's why he could not internalize or comprehend what he is reading. But when listening to others, that's it. His brain is focused in listening. That's why he could comprehend.
Yes, teacher Lorraine. That might be selective attention allocation. Take note that LaBerge said 2 things your mind should be doing in reading: decoding and meaning, decoding and meaning, decoding and meaning. He cannot decode. That's why when he reads aloud, cannot, but can understand when hearing only from classmates or other members. So we need to train him on print skill. Use print skill and vocab knowledge to help comprehend. That's a good observation, teacher. Okay, Ma'am Razel, your turn. Last one, sorry, Ma'am Juvita. Ma'am Razel.
Good afternoon, ma'am. This is Mrs. Reyes. I'm using Russell's account only. So as per analysis, there is a difficulty on oral reading, but needs assistance on reading text and needs assistance of the teacher. The comprehension is low, however, scaffolding can be done to develop further the comprehension since at the lower level ang use niya for grade 3, there is a capacity of understanding. Larry can understand, so only guidance towards comprehension level can be done by the teacher po.
Okay, may recommendation na si ma'am, no? Further diagnosis might be done. Yes.
Hello, ma'am.
Oh,
Hello, ma'am.
yes. Yes.
Ma'am from Calapan City Division.
Yes, teacher.
Yes, ma'am. Annabelle, ma'am. Annabelle Quitos from Calapan City
Yes.
Division. I just would like to clarify something with regards to the reading text. So,
Yes.
okay, so very noted po for the vocabulary. Okay, and the other comments a while ago. But I just would like to clarify because what I have understand and heard about the GST given by the elementary, since I am the secondary English teacher, So as what I understand, Larry is 10 years old and in 4th grade. But the reading text that being given to him is for grade 3. So what I would like to clarify is still there is really a problem with regards to Larry, since he is using a grade 3 material, print text for him. So but still he could not be able to overcome all the struggles and difficulties from that particular reading text. So what I would like to clarify that there is really a problem with Larry when it comes to approaching the reading text. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, that's noted. When he was placed in 3rd grade, it's no longer assessment. It's already an instruction part of the teacher. Putting Larry down to help him cope, but not necessarily to diagnose. And you are correct. Because he is not in his correct level, that's the right term, then he might still be having problem with several of these. Although one strength could be understanding, doing science things, and joining the discussion. Oh, that's his strength. But reading-wise, need support for print, for vocabulary knowledge, and use this as strategy for understanding.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, that's good observation. 4th, we're done with case 1, John, case 2, Mary, case 3, Larry. Naghahang din ang aking laptop. Oh. Yun. Oh. Case 3. Okay. Only up to 3 cases. Finally, I'd like to end. After the practice that we have on diagnosing learners' reading ability using this basic model, whenever we do our diagnosis with children, there are 6 principles given by the author of the model, basic model. Barr, Rebecca, Blackwitz, Camille, Katsi, and Kaufman B. What are the principles that they want us to follow when we make diagnosis? 1, diagnosis is a decision-making process. You do not just collect data after which you put it down and do not do anything at all. It is decision-making process, therefore action is needed. What action is that? Normally to address the result of your diagnosis or to conduct further diagnosis. Okay, next. Another principle, you need to consider the whole child in your diagnosis. Take note, reading ability equals cognitive processing for comprehending and using written text. Why do we want to say the whole child? The child made up not only of cognitive, but of social, emotional, mental, academic domains as well. So look into this. Although in the model, take note, it's basic model, nothing of these factors because it's basic, but it doesn't mean you do not. What we're saying for hardcore reading diagnosis, use this model, but do not limit yourself into the result of such. Take note, social, emotional, mental, academic, spiritual, the whole being is respected in diagnosis. It should be thorough and balanced. Do not look only for weaknesses or do not look only for strengths. Balance it. Not only one source. Why feel eerie only? That's not thorough and not balanced because that's not multiple source. Take note, there is no single tool to determine the child's level. Okay? Take note of Larry, pang grade 3 siya, pero pag science na at social studies ang binabasa niya, no? At least kahit orally, can join the discussion. Also, diagnosis is a team effort. Huwag naman tayong superwoman, Wonder Woman, because we need teachers, parents, guidance counselor for more data information in getting to know the child. Next, we also communicate effectively through oral and written form, through formal and informal manner. Diagnosis is not an end in itself. Therefore, you need to communicate the result. That's another action you need to take. Okay? Communicate this with the child, with the teacher, the subject teacher, the guidance counselor if needed, the parents. We need the help of everyone to raise a literate child. And in the end, it goes hand in hand with remediation. This is not an end in itself. Our diagnosis does not end after labeling the child, because action is needed to support child's holistic growth in literacy. We need to take an action for remediation, for correction, for intervention. Okay? Oh, I'm done. I'd like to end my session with you with these principles, and I give back the floor to our facilitator.
Thank you very much po, Ma'am Mary Ruth. Ayan. So, and of course, thank you to our participants who participated in the discussion earlier. For the meantime, let's open the floor for questions, and pwede niyo pong i-raise at sasagutin po yan ng ating speaker. So, pwede pong mag-unmute if you want to speak, or pwede pong ilagay sa chat box ang inyong mga queries. So this is the question and answer, or the open forum. Pero bago yan, bigyan po muna natin ng clap emoji si Ma'am Mary Ruth Gutierrez.
Yay!
Yay! Thank you very much, Ma'am.
Salamat sa mga nag-participate.
Ayan. Opo. Talagang yes, Ma'am. Very challenging po yung ating setup, pero nakakatuwa dahil napakarami natin dito sa room na ito. So I know, I believe baka meron pang mga ayan Ma'am, maraming claps ang ipinaabot sa inyo po ng ating mga participants sa English group, mula sa English group. Tayo po ay naka-live, ang English group po ay naka-live via Facebook page.
Is that so? I should have known.
Yes, Ma'am.
Come on.
Ma'am, surprise, Sharon. Don't worry, Ma'am, your next session later po ay naka-close. Ayan.
Okay.
Ito lang po muna. Thank you very much. May question po tayo para kay Ma'am Mary Ruth.
Hi, Ma'am Sands. Good afternoon.
Yes, po.
Good afternoon,
Yes, Sir
Doc
JP.
Mary Ruth. Well, actually, it's not a question, but there's a chat here from the chat box from Ma'am Maria Jovita Zeta, and she's asking if Ma'am Ruth could suggest reading materials for grades 4 to 7 years old. Reading materials for 4 to 7 years old. Kung may suggestion daw si Ma'am.
Thank you, Ma'am Zeta, for that question. I know the struggle that you have, no? Because of the connection, intermittent, not so strong. Sometimes you lag behind, but I appreciate the question. I believe in the saying, next to God, Google has the answer.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Mary Ruth. Ayan, Ma'am, I think Ma'am Lorraine is raising her virtual hand.
Oh, definitely Google will answer you. But if you ask me, I can send you the criteria for selecting literary books for children, ages 4 to 7. Follow the criteria. I cannot recommend specific books, but there are criteria that you
Thank
can.
you very much, Ma'am.
Yeah, but definitely, if it's literary or big book or children's books, show variation. Balance your narrative and informative text. Use picture books, short books, repetitive books. Okay? We have literature-based instruction. It will do a lot of help. Lampara is Filipino because I do not want your children to be very good in English only. They should also be good in Filipino. So choose Lampara books, Adarna books. Dr. Luis Gatmaitan is a very known doctor, author, Filipino books as well. Yon.
Thank you very much po at nagbigay na po si Ma'am Jovita ng kanyang email address. Thank you po.
Let me see.
Ayan. Ayan. Ma'am, meron pa nag-raise ng hands. Our two participants raised their hands, their virtual hands. Ma'am Lorraine, please unmute po.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon po again. I'm very much was interested po dun sa sinabi ninyo. Comprehension is not a problem. It's a symptom. I'm trying to assimilate what how I will connect it with the situation, the setting for the reading setting situation of our school. But my question is about the standard tests, because you mentioned also that ERI alone should not be the reading assessment to determine the reading level of used to determine the reading level of our learners, because it is not holistic. I don't know if you or the regional office could answer. Are there any standardized? Because in the department, it should be the standard assessment. Closed test is also one of good, and I have used this po no classroom teacher pa ako. But I'm asking of this standardized reading assessment aside from ERI. Thank you po.
Anyone from the regional office would like to answer?
Thank you very much, Ma'am Lorraine. And I think Ma'am Ed could answer the question. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon po. As of now
Good
po,
afternoon.
what we are using in the regional office as a standardized test for the reading, is the PIL-ERI. But this pandemic po, because the World Vision, in partnership with the World Vision, we are adopting today the tool being introduced by the World Vision. So yun po ay pinag-usapan namin ng mga division supervisors na to adapt that reading test sa ating mga division offices, sa mga schools. So we are now adopting the reading test being introduced by the World Vision na meron naman pong may video. May video po yan. And andyan naman si Doc Joey. Okay, so ano po siya, mayroong video na kung saan ay itututor ang ating mga nasa division, sa schools, kung paano gagamitin po yung tool. Thank you po.
Thank you po, ma'am.
Thank you. Do I need to answer that, or is the RO, regional office response okay?
Ayan. Thank you very much, Ma'am Ed. I think Sir Joey po is yes, Sir Joey po is raising his virtual hand. Yes, go ahead po, Doc Joey.
Nakatuwa naman po si Sandra. He calls me Doc Joey, but I am his ninong. Her ninong rather. To Ma'am Lorraine, so yeah, Ma'am Edna is right. Because previously we talked about the materials given by the World Vision that was in support to the Brigada Pagbasa program of the Department of Education. So right now, we are still downloading the materials. So there are also videos on how to address or on how to diagnose specific reading problems for a particular grade level. We're only waiting for some guidelines and other thing for some other activities in line with the implementation of Brigada of having our partners, not actually the teachers, yung partners natin, like yung ating mga reading volunteers, to be oriented also matters like that. But I guess it's the teachers who should be trained first. As soon as the regional office together with the other education program supervisors have met again, have convened again, and then studied the ins and the outs of those those materials. So we'll be cascading that, and we'll be training our school heads and of course our school reading coordinators. Actually, all the materials have been given already to our school reading coordinators, and they already have the copy of the link of all the materials, the reading materials, the assessment, and everything that you need. Thank you.
Thank you very much po, Doc Ninong. Ayan. Baka po may additional ang ating pong
Yes, Teacher Kat, if you're asking me. Thank you
yes,
for
ma'am.
your...
Baka po may additional. Thank you.
Yeah, my additional comment would be on the observation made by teacher that comprehension is not the problem, it could be a symptom. Yes, although comprehension is the heart of reading, and it's the most important as a data that we use for further diagnosis, it is not necessarily the problem. That could indicate that there is a problem that child might be encountering. The problem, if not print, if not vocab, it could be the integration of information found in the text. In reading, we call that intersentential, intrasentential connection, discourse, global connection. When the child is okay in print, okay in vocab, but apparently cannot see the whole picture of what is being read, integration is a problem. Integration of one's knowledge to the text, to what the text is saying, integration of the print and vocab to create global connection, no? Seeing a bigger, better picture than the smaller parts of this course. So, as teacher, if you say, hindi makaintindi, tapos na yon, hindi yun ang problema. Sintomas yon na may problema siya. Aalamin mo kung ano yon. And according to our model, most probably, it's the strategy, it's the print, the vocab.
Thank you very much po. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, after doing your assessment, I'd rather on improving instruction. Because, as we have said, assessment, diagnosis is not an end in itself. There should be an action needed. And the action, the best action to take is what implications do we get from all the data of assessment? How do we improve our instruction now? So the support that we get from many people for assessment is also coupled with the manner by which we handle the results, and we take a proactive role in improving our students' stance. For instance, PISA is a standardized test, but I will say it's not fair that the children are interpreted negatively because their curriculum is not like what what PISA asks. The manner that the test is given is not the same way that we do our test here. That's highly web, online processing, navigating the digital world, applying literacy skills, not with the print text anymore. In fact, PISA defines text as any stimulus that requires understanding for communicating and so on. So it could be visual text, it could be verbal text, it could be multimodal text, as long as it requires this processing of information. Yes, PISA is standardized, but how does it help the child? It does not zero in on the child. It presents a bigger picture, but not the specific particular case of a child. That's high stake as well. That's high stake test or assessment as well. As a teacher, what we do after assessment is more important than determining the level and stopping there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Mary Ruth, at sa lahat po ng nag-share. And of course, maraming salamat po muli sa inyong active participation. Sabi nga po ni Ma'am Jovita dito, I believe it has something to do with the eyes din po that is based from her own experience. Thank you very much, ma'am. At maraming salamat po sa inyong mga thank you messages, words of appreciation. Pero i-park po muna natin ang iba niyo pang mga questions kasi makakasama po muli natin mamaya si Ma'am Mary Ruth para sa kanyang second session. For the meantime po, we encounter difficulty, technicality po pagdating sa breakout room. We need to reset po according to our IT expert. So, i-close po ang breakout room. Babalik po muna tayo sa plenary. But, mamaya po makakasama po muli natin si Ma'am Mary Ruth. For the meantime po, let's have a 5-minute health break. Thank you very much, everyone.
Yes, Ma'am Katz, will you note the email addresses so that I can send this to them, the criteria for choosing reading materials. If you note down, after my talk, I will proceed and look for it so I can send. Thank you.
Yes po, ma'am. Actually, we have a documenter here, si Sir JP po. He will take note of that po. Thank you very much, everyone. Pwede na po tayong mag-leave ng room and punta po muna tayo sa ating plenary. Thank you very much, everyone.